Thomas, we're looking into our economic crystal ball again, which should offer us all the certainty of a magic 8-ball. What's it telling us about world banks?
Right. Yeah, just don't know where to go. You just wrong foot me every time with these introductions. It's like a little goose step at the end there. No, the World
You got some
Bank.
data here about World Bank forecast. I thought
Yeah.
that's what this whole thing would be about.
No, the World Bank.
The World Bank.
Yes, yeah. That economic institution.
I thought there was multiple World Banks. I thought I'm thinking of central banks.
Yeah.
Which is there's multiple central banks, but only one World Bank. You think there'd only be one central bank and be in the middle? Geez, economics is confusing.
It is. You guys, for you. Yeah.
All right. Well, what's going on at the World Bank?
Well, the World Bank has slashed their forecast for growth this year down. So they were forecasting growth of 2.7% in 2025. Just 6 months ago, they've now dropped that by 0.4 percentage points to 2.3. So that's pretty substantial in 6 months. They've just dropped it for about 70% of 70% of countries. Saying they're looking at the weakest growth outside of a recession since 2008. And the decade average with the lowest pace of growth of any decade since the 1960s.
Does that mean that we're heading towards a recession?
Well, we're on the way, definitely, directionally, that's true. Yeah.
Well, how much stock do we put in this anyway? Like the World Bank is they're looking globally, right? So that includes everyone from like some country that's just like in all sorts of trouble, you know, growing at negative 15%, but maybe someone else is killing it. Like there's probably the Nordic countries, Sweden, right?
Yeah.
Growing like through the roof.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what they do. I mean, they work with local economists and central banks and treasuries, and then they just aggregate it all up. So they have country by country level forecasts, where they then aggregate up into a global forecast. You know how like good the RBA is at forecasting. So they get like, you know, a couple of hundred RBAs together, add all the results together and get their outcome.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, you know, take
the chief economist of Chad in the room. He's forecasted some troubles ahead.
Yeah, but like I think directionally, it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting in the sense like I wouldn't be hanging my hat on actually hitting 2.3%, but the fact that they've cut by almost half a percentage point in just 6 months, I think speaks to how much the outlook has changed in the 6 months since Trump's been president, and because it's all trade driven. So yeah, global trade's down from 3.4% to 1.8%. So in 2025, so that's coming off pretty heavily, and the risks are to the downside. They're saying if anything, we're gonna undershoot this number, so it could actually be weaker.
And so, forgive me for not knowing this, but does the World Bank lend money to central banks?
No.
Is that what it does? What's the function of the World Bank?
World Bank is sort of like a development bank. Is kind of how you can think about it. Like it's
just a testing ground for banks before they move into production.
That's right. Just do some market testing, get some feedback
Working
on the user experience.
Worldbank.ai soon.
Yeah.
Coming soon.
Yeah. Now you can sort of think about the International Monetary Fund as being the central bank of central banks.
Yeah.
And the World Bank being the central treasury of treasuries. Very, very roughly.
It's fair to say I'm going to spend almost no time thinking about either of those things.
Yeah. I knew that. Right. That's why I just threw some words at you.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of this we sort of know, but I think it does speak to how quickly the economic outlook is deteriorating. And on top of that, like the other data we got last week was Australian GDP, which also came in pretty weak. So up just 0.2%, 1.3% higher over the year. That's pretty ordinary, particularly given that, you know, most of it, almost entirely public spending. So like 1.1 of that 1.3 is the government sector over the year.
Oh yeah, we covered that before.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
Is that new data? I mean, it's Was just telling us the same thing again.
It's the same story. It's the same
Great
story.
work.
Yeah.
Great work, Banks. So that means more rate cuts, though, right?
It does. I've got a big call for you, actually.
Oh,
yeah. RBA next meeting is in July. I reckon we're going to get 0.35%.
0.35.
Yeah.
That's not 0.25 or 0.5.
It's not. No. No. Well done. Well spotted.
I thought they only dealt in kind of round,
Well, they do.
Quarters and halves.
Yeah, normally they do, but I think
even is 0.35.
Okay, so what's happening is they're behind the curve. Ish. Yeah. Pie.
Sorry,
we're gonna get a rate cut of pie.
The RBA has announced 3.147 something, whatever the rest is.
Yeah. No, I think the RBA is behind the curve, and they have been for a while. And they talked about a jumbo cut of 50 basis points at the last meeting, and then decided not to. And since then, inflation's in the target band and heading lower. The partials, like the Melbourne Institute, actually looking weaker than that. So it's now looking like they need to defend the bottom of the target band. GDP growth is looking really sick. Like 1.3% is pretty ordinary. It's almost entirely public sector and population growth. Retail spending is dead. The consumer is on its back with its feet in the air.
I'm only laughing. I bought a car yesterday. In fairness, it's a secondhand, cheap car. It's a second, just a runaround little, So
Yeah. So everything's looking pretty weak, and the inflationary shock that might have been coming out of tariffs has most of the tariffs seem to be being walked back. It's slower and not as impactful as we thought. So the risks of an inflationary breakout have reduced. So I think that leaves the RBA behind the curve with a bit of catch up to do. I don't think they want to do 50 basis points because that'll look a bit panicky.
Yeah.
But we got some odd. We ended up with some odd numbers.
That'll look a bit panicky. It'll be pretty normal. It's a nice round 50 basis points. But I wouldn't panic if I saw it. I'd be like, oh, that's cool. It's a bit bigger. If they come out with 0.37, I'm like, that's panicky. That shows you're neither here nor there. You're just in no man's land in the middle, just guessing at what the rate cut should be. You're trying to have a bob each way.
Yeah. No. So during COVID, the RBA dropped rates to 0.01. They got out of the round number. Normally it's something 0.25 or 0.5. They got out of that with COVID, and they've never come back to the normal round numbers.
Yeah.
So I reckon they've now got an opportunity to give us a normal rate cut plus a little bit extra to get us back into round numbers without looking like 50 basis points, which just says, oh, wow, we're actually really behind the curve now.
Yeah.
So I think it gives them a little bit extra without creating panic. That's my hot tip for the July meeting.
Okay. Maybe they could go with 0.352 just add a little bit of extra nuance in there just to show everyone, look, we're really thinking about this. We've crunched the numbers. We're really leaning into non-round numbers. So we've gone with 0.352.
The board debated whether
we're slightly confident.
Well, let's see who's right.